Hello and welcome to Introduction to Enterprise Architecture using TOGAF. My name is Varun Pant and I'm a Open Group TOGAF 9 certified architect, and today I'll be giving you an introduction to why enterprise architecture is necessary and what does TOGAF do. The objectives are to provide an overview of enterprise architecture and to provide an overview of the Open Group Architecture Framework, which is better known as TOGAF. So architecture has been around us. You can see architecture in some of the very famous old buildings. This is the Colosseum or Colosso in Rome. And even thousands of years back, it was present. And as you can see in this image, architecture makes things possible. The only reason that this inverted house is surviving is because it is architected beautifully. In fact, thousands of years of history suggest that the only known strategy for addressing complexity and change is architecture. So, what are the reasons, some of the things that we face, which, the business pressures which necessitate the use of enterprise architecture? So, there is globalization. So, you have customers, partners, suppliers, everywhere scattered all around the world. Transparency, you want better regulations. Industry regulators, they want that, we have transparency and we know where we are spending the funds and what are the benefits that are being accrued. Better service focus, which is essentially differentiation and stakeholder value increasingly derived from service experience. And of course, the challenging economic circumstances. There are other things like consolidation, regulation, business and technology changes, which all make it necessary that we think about enterprise architecture. And where does IT sit? Too often, the IT departments fail to support changes to business model, and they do not support business agility or flexibility. And this compromises our competitive advantage. Technology integration is a costly, risky, and complicated business. Information is everywhere, but it is very difficult to get access to the right information at the right time by the right people for making decisions. Modifying system behaviors takes too long and changes are difficult to communicate and implement effectively. Much of the IT system and operations expenditure is bloated and fixed where operations run with excess redundant capacity. IT is seen as a cost center and not a source of business value, and this must change. So, coming back to what exactly is enterprise architecture? So, the phrase enterprise architecture was first used by John Zachman in an IBM Systems journal article titled A Framework for Information Systems Architecture. So, it has been around for quite a while, but it has evolved over the time, and we will see what it means in today's word as well. It was intended to address two problems: one, system complexity, and two, poor business alignment of IT and the business. The cost and complexity of IT systems have exponentially increased, while the chances of deriving real value from the systems has decreased. So, in a nutshell, this is what enterprise architecture looks like. So, you have business strategy, and there are some guidelines on how to run your business, and you have a business model. Then there are some capabilities which support your business model and help translate it to an operating model which actually does all the work and generates revenue. So enterprise architecture allows you to do it in an optimized manner with minimum risk. What is the need for enterprise architecture? In today's world, the IT systems are very complex and costly to maintain, and this hinders the organization's ability to respond to business and economic changing environment. And of course, they are not integrated with each other, they are silos. Mission critical information consistently is out of date or actually incorrect. So this, you are making decision based on information which is not dependable. And there is a culture of distrust between the business and technology functions of the organization. There is unmanaged complexity in IT landscape, which leads to greater cost and less flexibilities. So the issues can be lack of standards, there are some redundant applications, outdated totally, multiple platforms, and inconsistent data. Enterprise architecture defines a set of tools and methods to address this complexity. While benefits to enterprise architecture are generally understood, measuring value has always been a challenge. And that's a separate topic of benefits analysis. What is TOGAF? So TOGAF is an architecture framework, and it provides the methods and tools for assisting in the acceptance, production, use and maintenance of an enterprise architecture. It is based on an iterative process model supported by best practice and reusable set of existing architecture assets. And TOGAF actually has been around for some time, and it started off as TAFIM, which was Department of Defense Information System Agency, and that evolved over a period of time, and now it is in version 9.1. What is architecture in the context of TOGAF? So ISO defines architecture as the fundamental organization of a system embodied in its components, their relationships to each other and the environment, and the principles governing its design and evolution. So TOGAF by and large embraces this, but it has slight variations. In TOGAF, there are two formal definitions. One, it's a formal description of a system or a detailed plan of system at component level to guide its implementation. And two, it's a structure of components, the interrelationships, and the principles and guidelines governing their design and evolution over time. It is very well recommended that people understand these two definitions, what they're trying to convey, and actually memorize the second one as well, because that's usually asked in the exams. So who is the Open Group? So Open Group is a vendor and technology neutral consortium where vision of boundaryless information flow will enable access to integrated information within and across the enterprises based on open standards and global interoperability. So you would not be tied down to a single vendor, but you can use Microsoft's products for something, IBM products for another thing, and all this should be working seamlessly without having to do custom development. So this is the structure of TOGAF in the reference book, which is available, and also you can find TOGAF for free on the internet in the Open Group. So part one was introduction, and then you have various other parts. Part two is the architecture development method. Part three is the ADM guidelines and techniques. Part four is the architecture context framework. Part five is the enterprise continuum and tools. Part six is TOGAF reference models. And last but not least is the architecture capability framework, which is part 7, and which talks about all the skills and the different the effectiveness of the architecture, which is brought about by the coordination of people and processes. In pictures, I've got a slide which talks about the various parts and a little more about what it does. So the ADM, or the architecture development method, is how do we manage the enterprise architecture. Architecture content framework talks about how do we map all necessary information to the right categories. Reference models talks about how do we build on industry practice reference models. There is no need of reinventing the wheel if the industry over its years of experience has already got certain patterns or models. You can reuse them and suit them to your own enterprise. Then there are the ADM guidelines and techniques, which are essentially how do we apply the ADM. Then there is the enterprise continuum. How can we maximize recycling of the existing architectures? And of course, the architecture capability frameworks. How do we design our EA? If you're doing TOGAF, you'll hear this term again and again and again. So I'll give a little more attention on the ADM.